Great. Thank you all so much. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be amongst such amazing speakers um, and in this platform that Momni has created for us. Thank you so much. It's an exciting day. It's International Women's Day, and that should mean something to all of us. The work we are all doing and engaging in is really essential, and so I'm really grateful that we have an International Day to celebrate that and to link arms with our global sisters around the world. So I'm really excited to join you. As was mentioned before, my name is Carolina Allen, and I am the founder and CEO of the maternal feminist organization, Big Ocean, and we are women who are deeply empowered by and interested in standing for faith, family, and motherhood at the local level and at the international level. We feel as though true emancipation for women must begin where women are and in our lived realities and the ways that we experience the world. And so it's really essential to us that we share that voice wherever we can. As was mentioned before, we are headed to the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women coming up next week. And so we've been busy running around getting a ton of things together, and it's been a joy. We've attended for the past 4 years now, and the things that we have learned about our global women's issues in general, they have been fascinating, and they have really helped us bring information home so we can educate other women at the local level and how we can create the positive changes that we seek in the world. And so this event is really, really important to the work that we do. And so if anything that I share with you today resonates with you, I encourage you to check us out on Facebook or on our website. Ideally on our website, it's bigoceanwomen.org. And there's a place where you can support us and contribute there. You know, all of our tenets and philosophy is there for you to enjoy and to learn more about. But before I get on with the core of my message, I really want to share what Big Ocean is and how it got started. It's a very unique name. A lot of people ask me, what is Big Ocean? Is this a surf shop? Is it ocean conservation group? What are you? And the word, our name is very, very important to us. If you think back, a lot of feminist movements have been defined by waves. First wave feminism, second wave feminism. And so the idea of Big Ocean is really meaningful in that way. And it also has a story behind it, an experience that I had that I would like to share with you. As was mentioned before, I am not native to the United States. I'm native Brazilian, and I immigrated to the United States when I was around 7 years old. And coming from an immigrant family, it was hard. We overcame tremendous challenges. And but I remember being, a 7-year-old and kind of learning the language and hearing the word feminism for the first time. And I knew it had to do with female. And so I knew that it was something to do with women. And then I started understanding a little bit more that it was about power. And I'm like, well, I'm powerful. I'm a girl. And so I remember just being brought up in this environment in my home where being a girl was something special. I was the oldest daughter, and there was a lot of honor and respect around me being the oldest daughter. And I really treasured the way that my parents brought me up to really feel empowered and important and special. I remember being around 13 years old. Our family was sitting down watching the old classic, The 10 Commandments. And there was this part where Zipporah is giving the soliloquy about, although my hands may not be as soft, my hands can serve. And although my body may not be, this milky white, it is strong. And she kind of goes through a series of different things that kind of, create this dichotomy between like what this external vision of power is and then what truly, her internal power is. And I remember being a young girl and saying, yes, well, so that's feminism and that's what I am. And so I always had this kind of internal feminism that spoke to my all of these internal characteristics and qualities that made me feel powerful and special. And it was always spiritually infused. I mean, coming from a family of immigrants and seeing what I saw and seeing the kind of grit and determination my parents had to have to provide for us and to create a new life for us in this totally different place, they were always the first to say that it's because of our faith that we have this grit and determination and strength and courage. And so everything I ever did, and including my feminism, my own personal feminism, it was always spiritually infused. So growing up, you know, I had this small little feminism that suited me well. And it wasn't until later that this bubble was burst, when I really discovered what the more mainstream brand of feminism really was saying about my personal feminism, my connection to my faith, my connection to my family, my connection to my identity as a creator and as a woman and as a future mother, that really kind of burst this bubble for me. And it was a rude awakening. And I was like, what do you mean? Women like me, then we don't have power? Women like me, we have to aspire to be something else that is totally different and separate from our identities. It was very disturbing. And so for many, many years, I tried to reconcile that with feminism because I liked the word. There was no other word that really spoke to my power. I looked into womanism. I looked into all of these different things, but I said, I thought to myself, female, that is unique, that female quality, the power that I have to create life, whether or not I choose to, but that power is there. That's what makes me female. And so I didn't want to let go of the word feminism, even though it really disenfranchised me as a woman. So I really struggled with that for many, many years. And it wasn't until 2012, something unfortunate happened. My sister-in-law a year prior was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 uterine cancer. It progressed quickly. She fought it for a long time, and then it came back with a vengeance, and she passed away. Her name was Moana. Moana, surprisingly means ocean. My husband and I hopped on a flight, and we went to Hawaii, where my husband and his family's from. On that whole flight, I remember looking out the window at these beautiful clouds and the sunlight hitting these clouds and just feeling the serene feeling where I could finally just think. And all of these different, issues that I had with feminism, they just came up on that flight. And I remember thinking, okay, well, what's the upshot of feminism here? And for many years, I kind of sifted through all of that, and I decided, it's power. The upshot of feminism is power. And so then I started thinking, well, who has the power, and what does that power look like? So the flight landed, we hopped right off, and we went right to her funeral. And we got there, and it was as if the entire town had showed up for her funeral. It was just wall-to-wall people. And everyone was coming up to my husband and I saying, did you know that she did this for me? Did you know that she sold her car so that we could not have to foreclose on our home? Did you know that she helped me when nobody else would? I was contemplating suicide, and she was the one friend that I could rely on. Did you know that she did this and that? And all of these different people were coming to us and sharing these really personal ways that Moana had changed their lives. And I started to feel that, this is true power. And it was at that same time that I saw a group of around 8 to 9 men. They were huge. They were strong men. And they were kind of moving around in a pack. And my husband and I mentioned to each other, I wonder what their connection is to Moana. As the funeral progressed, the pallbearers were getting ready to take her coffin out into the courtyard and towards the cemetery when the funeral procession was stopped by these 8 men. And they said, we just want to offer one last haka for our sister Moana. And what continued after that was probably one of the most powerful things I have ever witnessed. These men, if you're all familiar with the native Maori haka, it's a very fierce demonstration, and they were sobbing. These big, strong, masculine men were sobbing at their, in grief for their fallen sister, and with their fierceness and their emotional expression. It was so moving and touching to me. I could not hold back the tears. Everyone there was just emotional, seeing them offer this one last haka for their fallen sister, Moana. And I went home, and just everything about that experience, I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I was up all night tossing and turning. I couldn't sleep. I just kept thinking and thinking, what is power? Moana has power. She changed an entire community. Later, we found out that those 8 men used to be her choir students, that she would cross the entire island of Hawaii, and she would volunteer as their choir director and as their seminary teacher. She changed their lives. And so I knew that that's what power was. Her influence to power, to change their lives, to shape their lives, that was true power. So I got up out of bed at 4 a.m., around 4 a.m., just before the sunrise, and I set out to the ocean side. And I threw my hands in the air and I said, God, give me something. I have been struggling and wrestling with this question for years. Give me something. And at that very moment, I felt just the desire to be still and just to listen. And so I started listening. And I heard these small, subtle waves coming in. And they were peaceful. They were small, soothing waves. And I remember thinking of the word waves. And then I said, okay, waves, like the waves of feminism. First wave feminism, second wave feminism. And as I started thinking about that, I started walking along the edge of the shore. And I saw this large cluster of rocks. And so I decided to climb on top of them. And I remember them being very sharp and just rough on my feet. And as I was standing on top of these rocks and I was hearing these small little waves ebbing and flowing, brushing up against the underneath of the rock, I looked and I saw that underneath the rock, it was this beautiful, shiny, black rock. And I said, wow, these small little waves for, however many thousands of years they've been brushing up against this rock, it's smoothed it over in time. It's made it beautiful. And I started thinking, sometimes I feel like this small, insignificant little wave. Like the things that I do day in and day out aren't visible and they don't really make a difference. But as I looked under at the rocks, I saw, wait, they do make a difference. They shape. They slowly shape and they create. I started thinking about, would that happen if it was a giant tsunami-sized wave? Would it shape the landscape in the same way? And I thought, no, it would obliterate the landscape. All these beautiful ways that these rocks have been formed through, so many small little changes. If a tsunami wave would have come in, it would have obliterated the landscape. I started thinking about the idea of this archetype, that the water was this female force shaping and working together harmoniously, and that the rock was this masculine, presence, and that the two together created something beautiful. And I started thinking about myself and identifying myself as being a small wave. And it was at that moment that I was standing on top of this cluster of rocks that I looked out, and the sun was just coming up over the horizon. And I looked out and I saw the vastness of the ocean, and it was so, so magnificent. And I said, I'm not just an insignificant small little wave. I actually belong to the big ocean of women just like me. Women that are doing these things day in and day out, that these nurturing ways that we are changing the world around us, that this is powerful, and that it was right then that I started identifying myself as part of the big ocean of women, where it wasn't me isolated and alone without a philosophical home, without a feminist kind of a place to speak from for my internal power. I started identifying myself as part of a collective. And that really changed things for me. It was the beginning of this potential for a philosophical home that would house us all of us women who are deeply connected to faith, family, and motherhood. And so that experience, it was a spark. And I came home and I said, we can do something together. We must do something together, because our contributions are not just small and invisible and insignificant. They're creating beauty all around us, and not just, within the local sphere, within the community sphere, within the worldwide sphere, but for generations. So the work we do as caregivers and as nurturers, as homemakers, as, friends and as spiritual beings, it's essential. It's essential. So that is the origin story of Big Ocean and how we came about. And so that name is really, really precious to us. And so we've always kept it. It gives us kind of a visual of how big this movement must be. The idea of, the traditional brand of feminism that negates our faith, family, and motherhood is a brand of feminism that truly does not speak to global women. This is something that has been shared throughout academic circles, and many women of color, many women of different ethnicities and geographical locations have felt as though this small, narrow brand of feminism that negates our cultural wealth, when it negates faith, family, motherhood, it severs that tie, and it kind of separates us from what we could be. And so Big Ocean is an organization and a movement. We call ourselves maternal feminists. It's a movement to bring all of the women of the world together and to work harmoniously together in the place where we are at. This is our lived reality. And let me just give you some statistics really quick. 53% of the world's women, and that's out of a population of, the entire global population it's roughly 7 billion people. So it's 3.42 billion women in the world that make up that population. So it's 58% of the women of the world are mothers. And that's just currently mothers, not even future mothers. And at Big Ocean, we define mother as any woman with the best interest of the rising generation at heart. So we even have a broader definition of mother. So that's not even taking into account. That's 58%. And then 83% of the female population identify with the faith tradition. 83%. That's something that's important to us. And then that's not even to mention family. We have all come, every single person on the earth today has come from a woman's body. We all have ancestral roots, whether or not we are connected with them or we are very, in a good standing with them. We all come from family. Family is something that it's safe to say is relevant to a majority of the world's women and the world's population. So everything about those three elements, faith, family, and motherhood, they resonate with global women whose culture is based, our music, our art, our languages, our manner of expression, our clothing, our everything about us culturally, it's infused with our faith, our spirituality, our families, and our identities as female creators, as mothers. And so to negate that within feminism is really to create a very, very narrow feminism that's only for a very elite few in the world, and to kind of push and force women into this brand of feminism. It goes contrary to our empowerment. So at Big Ocean, we like to say true empowerment cannot happen unless we acknowledge these things within us as women. And until we can speak to our lived reality and our lived experiences, and until we can elevate the status of mothers, because when we do that, we elevate the status of women, we cannot fully be emancipated in the way that we need to. And why feminism? A lot of women say, well, you know, I feel empowered as a woman, but I don't like the word feminism. I'll never identify myself as a feminist. And to that I say, we need you. We need to, you know, through this maternal feminism, that's how we link arms, and that's how our voices become heard, and our voices will echo and say the things that mean to us the most. It's the word du jour. It's the word of the day, and many of the global policymakers today are sitting at this table, at the feminist table. And until we can sit down and join them and articulate the things that matter the most to us, we won't be able to preserve those things. We won't be able to elevate the status of mothers and women in the way that needs to happen the world over. And our global sisters are depending on us. We can't just, you know, pat ourselves on the back and say, well, our lives are great and fine. I don't need feminism. But what about all of our global sisters who aren't even given a chance and a shot at life simply because they are female? The millions and millions of baby girls who, because of sex-selected abortion, aren't even given a chance at life. Or, you know, if they are born, they are quickly killed. It's called infanticide because of their femaleness. The many girls who are shunned out of their communities and homes because they menstruate. It's part of being female. It's part of our biology. The many mothers who do not get the kind of care that they need because they are disposable. Oh, I can just marry another wife. I don't want to get my wife, you know, a midwife or some maternal health care because she's disposable. Our biological uniqueness, our capacity to create human life that sets us apart from men, is essential for a thriving world. And until we can come to full terms and see ourselves as powerful from the very beginning, simply because we are women, then our global sisters around the world are going to suffer in grievous ways. And so it is essential that we can come together as women and be the changes that we need to see in the world. And I know we can do it. We've been doing it for many years. We now just need to start identifying as the big ocean of women that exist, rather than just individual waves. If anything that I have shared with you today resonates with you, I really encourage you to join us. You can visit us at bigoceanwomen.org. We are organized in local chapters, which we call cottages, and we meet monthly. And there are cottages that are starting to grow all over the nation, and we are getting ready to really establish cottages globally. And when that happens, we will really be able to unite with our global sisters and work hand in hand with them to create the generative solutions that we need to see in the world. Some examples of what cottages are doing right now. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Me Too campaign, which has created tremendous awareness at the commodification that's happening to women all over the world. That's really important. We need awareness, but we can't stop at just creating awareness. We can't stop in this low of, what now? What can we do now? And so Big Ocean has taken that on, and one of our local cottages, our Provo cottage, has created an incredible fundraising night where women can get together, and it's just a girls' dance party. And every single one of the proceeds that we get through this fundraising will go directly to the Women and Children's Crisis Center. And so we are putting our money where our mouth is, and we are acting. Our positive action campaigns are creating real change in real time in our communities. And so if you want to be a part of our movement, we invite you. We are so eager to have you and welcome you. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you. I hope you all have a wonderful International Women's Day, and I hope that next year can be even better. And if you feel at all compelled to join us, we invite you. Thanks so much.